Hello, let's talk about autism in English podcast listeners. If you've been listening, you know that all of my guests are other Hmong individuals, Hmong professionals, Hmong family members, Hmong mothers, Hmong fathers. But for today's episode, I've invited a very, very special guest. She is a colleague of mine, a current colleague, because as you know, these passion projects, we do it because we just feel it in our heart. It's a burning desire in our heart to do more and to do something that we don't know if it's going to work or if anyone is even listening. But here I am chugging away. We're at season 3. And so, this is my passion project. It is a side gig, but mama needs a full time gig to pay the bills, right? Because I have 3 kids. And so that is where I met our next guest. Her name is Shino Welch, and I have been, BCBA for 6 years. Most of the BCBAs that I've met are Caucasian Americans. I've been fortunate to meet some African American BCBAs and a few Hispanic BCBAs. And I kept thinking, where's our Asian, BCBAs at? And Hmong. So I'm constantly looking for Hmong BCBAs, and I met a few, not in person, but with the World Wide Web, you meet a lot of people, and so we know you guys exist. I know you guys exist because I looked you up on the directory, and I know you exist. Um, but to have the opportunity to work with a Asian colleague, this is a first for me, and I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Mrs. Shino Welch. She is a Japanese American BCBA, and we see each other every day. I just saw her today, and it has been such a joy to work with her. And as you know, as all Asian people know, in the workplace, when you go to a new place, you want to bring your home food from home, and sometimes you're like, oh gosh, my colleagues, my other coworkers, they might not like this very curry smell in the kitchen or in our office. But I love working with she because sometimes I'll be sitting there eating and just minding my own business, and she's like, what are you eating? I'm like, it's curry. So it has just been so nice, to be able to eat whatever I want without worrying about other people, making faces. So welcome to the podcast, Shino Welch.
Thank you, Tia. I'm happy to be in your podcast.
Yes, I know you're a little nervous about coming on the podcast, but I think these last few months getting to know you and just talking about, your experiences and what brought you to where you're at today, I was just so intrigued and I wanted to learn more. And I thought, who else might want to know about this? My listeners, because I'm presenting the Hmong American experience when it comes to talking about autism. And we can't talk about that without acknowledging that the other Asian cultures also experiencing similar things, right? And so as you and I have been talking, I'm like, yes, it's so nice. I think it's human nature to want to feel like you're not alone. Like there are other people who are experiencing similar things, and that whatever struggles you're going through, or even whatever triumphs you're going through, it's a shared experience. And so when you were sharing with me what you know about the Japanese, experience with ABA, with autism, I really wanted to bring that to my show. So thank you so much for being brave and coming on my podcast to share because, honestly, I don't know who will listen to this, but maybe someone out there who is Japanese might listen and be inspired, like, wow, there's a Japanese BCBA, so I'm really excited to share more about all the things that we talked about with our listeners today.
Okay, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so let me I don't want to age you or myself, right? But
Yes.
I will say that, like I said, I've been here doing this for 20 years and I've met very little, like less than 5 Asian colleagues, so it's very exciting for me. And then much less a Asian BCBA. So, Shino, can you please share with me what brought you to the field of ABA?
Okay, so I did not know ABA till I want to say when I started maybe 5, 6 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a I was a paraprofessional at the
Mhm.
elementary school, and I was the the teacher at the special education classroom. She used to be the behavior technicians. So in her classroom, she said I used to do ABA, and she told me all
Mhm.
about it. And ABA is great, and you got to find a motivation, and kids can't do anything kind of thing. It's like, wow, what's this magic tool? So she
Yeah.
introduced me first, and then in a classroom we use like you know picture board and picture schedules first and then, and she does DTT also. I guess all the special
Mhm.
education teacher somehow got trained to do the DTT, district trial
Mhm.
training too. And then I thought that, I didn't know what it was, but she kind of trained me to do that. It's like, okay, I can do this. So in that time, I thought like, oh, I want to be a special education teacher. So I decided to be, I just wanted to be like her. I thought that's so great.
Yeah.
It's kind of, that sounds like fun. So I start, in my mid 40s, kind of telling my age, but I decided to go back to master degrees. I already had a bachelor degree when
Yeah.
I was in 20s. So I
Mhm.
decided to go back to the school, and it
Yeah.
was all online. It was so hard. And then,
Yeah.
first class I enrolled, I dropped in next day. First semester.
Oh.
They're like, okay, I'm gonna try next month. This class was every month. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna try next month. So okay, I got
Mhm.
ready myself again. Okay, I'm gonna try again. And that was a summer.
Yeah.
And then I dropped the one in June. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. And July I tried again. And I
Mhm.
started taking class, and then first one was like intro to special education, and next class was I took the autism class. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, it's like so I start learning because I had about 5 or 6 kiddos in my special education class, and then I want to say 4 of them were diagnosed with autism, and
Mhm.
one kiddo was had a Down syndrome, one kiddo had like um, I can't remember. She was more heavy medical necessity kiddo. I
Mhm.
just can't remember her diagnosis was. But so then I started learning about it. So it really helped me going to school and being in that classroom. And
Yeah.
then next semester I took was the PBIS,
Mhm.
the positive behavior intervention and support class.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
think that's what the PBIS was. So
Yeah.
that class, and then I learned about more ABA. Then I have to come up with one target students and come up with an intervention plan, and I had to place on it, and I take data, and it's like, wow, this is really tedious, and I had to take data and everything, and then
Mhm.
and at the same time, this kiddo was having so much trouble that district BCBA was actually working too. And then I get to work with her. And then I thought,
Mhm.
what is this BCBA? You know.
Mhm.
Then I start talking to her and it's like, well, you know what? This is what I want to do, not the special education teacher.
Yeah.
So then I thought, how could I do this? And I start researching about it. Then I thought, I have to be RBT. And then,
Mhm.
so I switched the school, and I switched my job, and I start
Mhm.
working towards a BCBA career. That's how I came to be. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so cool. You're so inspiring to me because I'm in my 40s right now, and I could imagine just going, I'm gonna do something new, something, you know, go pursue the next level, of education. Like I just have a lot going on. I'm sure you did too, right? Because you have your kiddos. So gosh, kudos to you and kudos to the amazing BCBAs that you saw doing their magic and you're like, I want to do that. And
Mhm.
so I think that's been really great. That experience. And right now, we have a few, between the two of us, we have a few student analysts that we're supervising. And it's really cool to see, what we can share with them and how they, present that and how they can learn that and then train the next, generation of student analysts becoming BCBAs. And it's just great to hear that story, Sheena. So thank you so much for sharing. Most of the people that come on my show are either parents, or if they're not, then they're in the field for, a very good reason. I always say people in the mental health field, they have really big hearts, right? To be able to, go to work every day and open up their heart and help the clients, and sometimes we learn that the reason why I show up in this job and why it's so meaningful is because I'm also impacted by people outside of work, right? Like whether at home, and there's that personal connection. So do you mind to share your personal connection to autism, and how pursuing your master's degree was, more than just being wowed by the BCBA, but how that connection made it even more meaningful for you?
Yes. So the reason I was keen towards working at the special education classroom was that I have a niece. Her name's Momo, and
That's
she
so
has a
cute.
disability. Yes. So she was born neurotypical, and when she was 3 years old, she got sick. She got the
Mhm.
encephalitis, and
Mhm.
basically damaged her frontal lobe of brain. And
Mhm.
then, um, so when that happens, well, up till then, she came to visit. My sister and her daughter came when she was 2. I mean, and I have daughter that a year older than Momo, my niece,
Mhm.
and Momo can put the puzzles like really hard puzzle when she was 2, like harder
Mhm.
than what my 3-year-old daughter could do.
Mhm.
And then I was like, wow, she's very bright and smart. And then it
Mhm.
was very devastated for our family when she got sick when she was 3.
Mm.
Then
Yeah.
she couldn't move her body first. But then doctor said, well,
Mhm.
her other part of the brain is not damaged. That I can't remember what the other part of the brain is, but the
Mhm.
what that
Yeah.
control the mobility of the body
Yeah.
is not damaged. So she should be able to move around, walk around. She won't be like in a wheelchair or anything. She's her mobility is fine, but her frontal lobe is brain is damaged, so her cognition is damaged, basically. So
Mhm.
she will still um progress in her knowledge and everything. It just be very slow. And
Mhm.
whatever she retain up to she's 3 years old will still there. But she'll be
Mhm.
kind of state of 3 years old, kind of like
Mhm.
rest of her life. And then her whatever she gained will be very slow progress. So
Mhm.
when that kind of like that what doctor told, and it's really was devastating for all of the family members for
Yeah.
my side, like my parents, my sister, and her husband. And then
Mhm.
on top of that, she was actually pregnant that time with her second child. She
Oh.
was 10 days away from delivering a baby.
Mhm.
So middle of when she Momo was in like, then hospitalized and everything,
Mhm.
my sister delivered a baby. And
Mhm.
then as soon as she got an out, and I went over to Japan to help her.
Mhm.
And it was really, really sad that how that turned out
Yeah.
to
I'm
be. And then
sorry.
so she basically engages in like a challenging behavior, like the
Mhm.
children with the like autism. Um,
Mhm.
uh, So she's very hyperactive. So like
Mhm.
almost like she has like ADHD too. So she cannot
Mhm.
sit still. She put everything in her mouth. She just run
Mhm.
around. And so I just when I wanted to really learn how to help her, and that's how I got
Mhm.
to get into special education classroom. Then I
Mhm.
thought I want to learn what like the schools in here, how the teachers are doing, because
Mhm.
when my daughter, not my daughter, my sister start going to sending her daughter to Momo to school, they got a red flag like, oh, you can't bring her unless you come in to help too. Or, we don't have that much
Mhm.
support system, not like in America.
Mhm.
So it was. I just wanted to know how the school systems in here and what kind of support they have. And at one time, I thought about really bringing her here as
Yeah.
a whole family, and then maybe she can get better education here or help
Yeah.
her, but that's not gonna happen, but, because sh her
Okay.
yeah, her husband's they only speak Japanese, and they have a job
Mhm.
there, and it's not
Yeah.
gonna happen. But yeah, anyway, so I just that was my really true passion that I wanted to help my sister. And then now when
Mhm.
I became BCBA, when I thought I would be BCBA, it's like, well, that's not, I don't need to be special education teacher. I need to learn
Mhm.
how to, uh, how the her functional behavior is, and I can help her.
Yeah.
So that was
Right.
the, for my passion, I guess. That was,
Yeah.
yes.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think, you know, we talk on so many levels about how do we how do we get funding to work? How do we get good clinicians? How do we get people to stay in the field, right? And there, when you hear of the personal connection, and that's why, right? It just makes a lot more sense, and it also helps us to remember that, you know, with the prevalence of autism, 1 in 36, you know, and then in the studies, the numbers, the statistics say that it's for Asian children, it's 1 in 16. That's very high, and so yeah, it's always, you always find that, you know, when someone has a connection to having someone, knowing someone, or having a child on the spectrum, you know, they're definitely more invested in, you know, seeking support and raising awareness. And so, you know, I think I shared with you that in the Hmong language, we don't have a word for autism. So right now we say autism. The descriptions for it are still lacking. We're still working on that. I'm trying so
Mhm.
hard on my podcast, and, you
Mhm.
know, just as I am pursuing this passion project to work with other professionals, you know, I so by the time this episode airs, the one that I did with the Hmong psychologist will have already aired, and she broke it down so well. I mean, like Shino, honestly, I told my husband, I said, after this episode, if I did no more podcast episodes, I would be happy. I would hang up my microphone, because Dr. B just defined the heck out of autism and Hmong for all of us listeners. But it's still important to talk about what that looks like, right? So can you tell me, in Japanese, in the Japanese language, is there a word for autism?
Mhm. Called Jihei Sho. So, Ji means self, like hey is like closed. So, when I was looking at the English word for autism, the originated from Greek word for autos, self. So when I looked up for Jihei
Mm-hmm.
Sho means it comes, they took the word from Greek word, how the English word autism came. So that basically it's like kind of word to
Mm-hmm.
word translated. So it's like a self-closing, I don't know, not disease, but like the sickness kind of thing. That's what that meaning is. So it's
Mm-hmm. I'm
pretty,
sorry. I'm sorry. I lost my connection for a second there.
yeah.
Can you tell me, what is the Japanese word for autism again?
Jihei Sho.
Jihei Sho.
Hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
Jihei Sho. What does
Yeah.
G's
Yeah.
mean?
Means self.
Self, G, and then
Uh-huh.
hey,
Hey is like a closed.
close, and then
Uh-huh.
show is
Show is just like the like a ism and all that stuff, like like a disease or sickness kind of thing. Yeah,
like a disorder or
disorder.
condition.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so
condition. That's that
close,
word. Uh,
self, wait, self
closed,
closed,
closed
right? Self
condition.
closed disorder, and it comes from the Greek origins of the word autism, which means
Mhm.
closed self, right?
Yes, like autos is the self. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's
I
pretty
like
much,
that.
yeah, yeah. It's just
No,
the
that makes
same translation. Yeah.
That makes sense for how the ideology of that happened, how they decided on that. So, is that a word that um I, do you hear it in the medical community, or just like the mainstream community? A Jiheisho, like everyone
Mhm.
uses that, or is that a medical term, or
No,
like if
everyone
right now,
uses. Mhm.
Like right now, if I went to, I went to sushi last night, but today, if I go to a sushi restaurant and I'm just having a conversation with someone, I know they're Japanese, and I say, "Hey, can you tell me about jiheisho?" Would they know what that means?
Uh, they know some kind of disability diagnosis. Most people would
Okay,
should know. Yes, and when I
jiheisho.
grew up, I had my neighbors. My mom told me that the boy in the corner, he has a heavy GH, so they moved to somewhere
Oh,
else so the mom can. There's a good school for that or something like that. Then I remember at that
okay.
time I didn't know what it is. I really, really, actually, really did not know what they are till when I became
Mm-hmm.
adult because I did not never encounter anybody who had it. So, and that's what another thing was like we have kind of like segregation for the children with disability that they go to special
Mm-hmm.
school. It's not like in America, it's all everyone's like emergent. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't have anything like a IDEA in Japan to
Right.
um, yeah, for them to for the children with disabilities to attend the school. They don't. I mean, you can if you have like a mild autism or a little bit of disability, like a learning disability, or then they have support system there. But where my sister lived, where I grew up, I did not see any. I remember I remember there's two children probably had autism now I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But like they went to kind of like special class, they had it. And I thought just that she was just delay in learning. But now I think about it, she probably had autism, but it was not
Mm-hmm.
like um um it, I did not encounter very many students. And then also went to private school after that when I was in junior high and high school. So then
Mm-hmm.
you had to take a test to get in. So they kind of
Yeah.
segregate those children if you have a
Okay.
disability. So
So, as a country, right, that's like the understanding and the approach to developmental disability and with autism. And so, there's a few programs that started here in the United States, and I follow those programs, and I see that they do a lot of certification for the Japanese professionals. So, I was really excited to see that ABA is kind of growing in Japan. And we talked about so I think you mentioned that in Japan, based on I don't know if this is based on numbers from our directory or where the numbers, but you said that you think that in Japan there are 30 BCBAs, right?
mhm.
30. I think we have 30 I think we have 30 in just where we live here, right? Here in Northwest
Yes,
Arkansas, right?
yes.
Like minimum of 30. And so on the whole island of Japan there are 30 BCBAs. And then we talked about how like in the United States, and there's probably more, but just like when I introduced you, you're Shino, but your last name is Welch. So it's hard to really go on the directory and be like, oh, all of these people are Japanese because their last name might be different, or maybe they adopted like American name, and so it's like we don't know. But you do have colleagues, and you know that at least 10 Japanese BCBAs exist here in the United States, who go back and do training in Japan. So I think it's great that Japan is open to the idea of ABA. It's open to integrating ABA into their communities and possibly into their school systems. I don't know if I might be making that up, you guys, but at least, like, the idea of ABA is being seen in the Japanese community on I almost said mainland, but on the island, ABA is happening. Um, how do you think that integrating ABA has changed service delivery and then also overall cultural awareness about autism? Like, are they more now in 2024? Are they more accepting or even aware of autism compared to when you were going to school a few decades ago?
I think there's a more and more children have been diagnosed, and then
Yes.
people are aware of it, and then those parents, and then in a community, they want to know how to help those children and the parents,
Mm-hmm.
family members. So, like one of my BCBA friend,
Mm-hmm.
who I never met her either. Like you are the,
Yeah,
the social group, I mean,
sure.
that's how we are. I know, through my friend, but she disseminate and go to when she go to Japan and she'll have a seminar, and then she was
Mhm.
actually brought up in the local newspaper about teaching about
Yeah.
ABA. And so, and then she told me about it. There's gonna be, I think one time ABAI was held in Kyoto, Japan. I think it could
Oh,
be
wow.
before COVID. She told me about it.
Okay.
So there's gonna be
Okay.
another big one in Sapporo in next fall.
We're
So
going. Let's
you're
go.
going great. Yeah. So, but she told, I
Let's go.
know. We'll see if we
No,
can
I'm not
readjust.
kidding, I'm serious, we gotta go. Our
I know.
very small $500 stipend will not cover anything, but let's go.
I know. I know the airfare, but anyway, the yeah, she said that it's gonna be broadcast or it's recording and we can listen later, and so
No, I
it's
wanna
it's
go.
more
I wanna
like
go to Japan.
I
We should just go.
too. Yeah, I think that'll be great. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's
she told me
good,
about
yeah.
it. So
Very
there's
cool.
more and more people hunger to learn about it, and there's
Mhm.
family members who wants to learn about it. So I mean,
Oh, good.
yeah, yes. So
That's good. I still find that, here in the United States, the Hmong community is still trying to I don't know. Maybe I feel very ignorant because this is what I do. So I talk about autism all the time. I think about it when I go to work, and I do it on my podcast and I do it for my, my consulting business and, just the workshops that I do. So I'm always talking about it. But I think that I am not quite hearing what the Hmong people want and what they need and if they need this service, but I just feel the need to like push this information out. So I keep going. But I hope that one day that we can arrive at a place where, as a whole community, we can show the Hmong autistic community that you are seen, you are heard, we care about you. We want to make sure you know that we are here for you. You don't have to not talk about your child being on the spectrum just because you feel like no one's going to listen or understand, right? And so I think that's such a great model to look at that in the whole island of Japan, despite there only being 30 BCBAs and, there's like a dozen, going from the United States to go educate, like that's all it takes is someone saying, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to start small and we're going to make it happen and it will start, hopefully it will take over like wildfire. And I'm curious, gosh, so curious now to see what other Asian cultures are up against because I think like we talked about, even though I'm Hmong and you're Japanese, whenever we share the cultural similarities, it's very interesting that it's the same, right? Like, there's, like you said, like there's that segregation, right? The kids who have autism, they never showed up at your school, because that was just accepted that they don't, right? And so, same with in the Hmong community, we see a lot of families who are isolated from the Hmong community because the Hmong community is, if nothing, it is all about showing up, and to support each other. And if a family is just not even willing to show up because they know they're going to get questions from people who don't understand, then that really hurts the heart of what being a home person is all about, And so I wonder in the other cultures. So if you are listening and you are Hmong or Japanese or any other Asian and you feel like you would love to contribute to this conversation, please reach out to me because I'd love to see what we can do. Right? As, I mean, sure, within our Asian cultures, but also as human beings, how we can support each other. And, Shino, I know I promised you this would be a very short episode, and it is. And I just would like to wrap it up with what is a message that you would like to share with our Asian autism community? And now having been in the field for a few years, and you just celebrated 1 year as a BCBA, and again, I'm so proud of you. That's so cool and so amazing, and I know your girls are proud of you. Look at mom; she went and got her master's in her uh, later years. I won't out you. I won't age you, and you know what I mean. And it's, I mean, it's such a tough field like what we do every day, it can be tough. It can be really hard. I came home today and I was like, oh my God, my back hurts a lot. Like, what did I do today? And I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, that's what I did today. It's very challenging. And then you were also telling me this morning, I'm kind of telling on you. This morning, Sheena was showing me all her yoga moves that she does to prep for her day. So it's a really like physically taxing job, but look at you, like going at it. And I feel like I need to keep up. I'm like a whole decade behind you, but I'm like, I got to keep up because Sheena's doing this. So I'm just so inspired by you. But like, what message would you like to share with the Asian autism community? Maybe there are some communities that are not, you don't have a BCBA yet, right? They're just because maybe there isn't a lot of um oh gosh, interest, or maybe you do. I don't want to assume that there is or isn't, but hopefully this episode will spark some interest. And if you're like, gosh, what do I need to do to become a BCBA? Well, rewind 30 minutes ago and go listen to what Shino shared about her very I would say very interesting path, right? It's not your typical path to become a BCBA. And I love it. I love that. So yes, your message for the Asian autism community.
Okay. Well, I think it's important to get the correct information about ABA too. There's some
Mhm.
people are thinking like, oh, ABA is not good, or they have the like old image of it still. And so people, when I talk to my sister, it's like she hear that ABA is good, but what is really ABA? I was talking to her yesterday too. It's like, well,
Mhm.
this is what it is. We find the motivations, and that's how we use this. If you say you had to lose 10 pounds, but you don't have any motivation to, it's kind of hard to lose 10 pounds, but you go to
Mhm.
the wedding, you gotta wear this dress, and you gotta get motivated to do
Yeah.
it. Same way,
Yeah.
like, my sister is saying like, oh, my daughter, Momo, she will not gonna learn this thing. But if she wants this item, she will get it. Even our
Yeah.
little kiddos, they get motivated to do, and that's how we get skill acquisitions. Like, oh, okay, how do I get this? How do I get more? I want to learn how to do this. And she is really hunger for it. But the thing is, we don't have much. Like I said, we only have 30 BCBAs in that country. We have so many people living there, but um, part of it is that to take a test, everything was in English. So lots of university in seminar, you can get it as we like disseminate everything. We can teach them in Japanese, but by the time you had to take RBT test or BCBA test, it's all wasn't only in English. So
Oh
I heard
wow.
from my BCBA friend. She said from August 2024, exam can be taken in Japanese. So
Oh
which will
good.
increase the knowledge of ABA and number will grow. So
Wow.
right now, yeah, so that just really changed. But then she also
Mhm.
saying that BACB guideline is so much strict, and then it's kind of hard to disseminate in Japan. So she was
Mhm.
saying maybe the other qualification called QBA,
Mhm.
qualified behavior analyst. Is that what it is?
Mhm.
I'm not familiar with that. What's a guideline, how to get
Mhm.
that, but that might be more increased number or not. That's what she was saying. So I feel like that having that more technicians that are certified will um, eventually grow ABA. Right
Mhm.
now, there's not enough. So then, if all the fidelities and ethical problem will arise, and
Mhm.
doing the wrong things, and you don't want to teach
Yeah.
wrong and it will get harm. So I think
Right.
that will change. So I feel like I want to make sure everyone, like, I want to like spread, disseminate ABA, but again, I want people to get the correct information. I think that's very important.
Mhm.
So, as we grow in Japan, and the people in Japan are Japanese people, we call majime. They are very strict about themselves, very disciplined. If they tell you the rule, we follow the rule. We are rule
Mhm.
follower country. So
Yeah.
like if they like ABA will be so great in Japan, like Japanese people,
Mhm.
like they say this is what you do. BCBA said we
Mhm.
follow it. Like
Mhm.
here and there, like in America, I feel like, well, I thought we can try this. Or like, well, you're not a BCBA, you're not supposed to do this. Some of the technician will try it out, but like in Japan, like people are like really
Yeah.
rigid about it. So this will be really
Yeah.
great. But I want to make
Right.
sure great, like, actual, like, correct BCBAs are there to,
Mhm.
I mean, not correct BCBA, BCBA who learns a correct principle are being
Yes.
taught to all the RBTs, and I think it will grow and it'll
Yes.
be great. So I'm really
Yeah.
excited about being able to take a test in Japanese because,
Oh,
yeah, so I think that'd be
wait,
great.
you want to take the test again in Japanese?
No, no,
Don't
no,
do
no,
it.
but for people in Japan, because
Okay.
so another story to that, I was helping my sister's class
Mhm.
teacher, my
Mhm.
sister's daughter's class teacher,
Yes.
and then there's like 5 other people showed up on my line call, and then
Oh,
one of
wow.
them were like special education teacher for the board and all the
Yeah.
Nagano, and he all wanted to learn. He wanted to learn about
Mhm.
ABA. Like he heard about
Mhm.
it, he just wanted to learn about it more. And so
Yeah.
people really hunger about the uh,
Yes.
more real knowledge of the ABA. So that
Right.
was a great call that I get to do with them, and then like
Yeah.
start teaching them little by little. So I hope I get to have another more opportunity like that to helping people and
Awesome. I'm so
educate the
proud of
educated.
you.
So,
Look at
thank
that.
you.
Remember when we called you this last year, baby BCBA?
I
You're
know,
a
I'm so
toddler
baby,
BCBA
maybe
now.
I'm a toddler, I wanna be teenager.
Yes, well, you're
So
doing great. That is such a good message, right? Want to make sure that whatever information you get about ABA, that it is the accurate version and it is information that will be helpful and not harmful. That is really cool that they can now test in Japanese. I think that is a big cultural barrier that we see in a lot of, you know, countries. And so I think that as we move forward, we will see a lot of those changes that will just open so many more doors. I mean, and just as a tangent sidebar, I want to encourage all parents. If you're kind of like, what is ABA? Uh, it's hard to kind of understand it, but I say, and you and I just had a conversation about this with our director this week. There's so many free RBT courses out there. Just go do it for fun. You don't get any credits, any CEUs. They're free, but just go learn about the principles of ABA from a course that maybe some of our own like organizations, nonprofits, private equity companies may set up their RBTs to do that free 40-hour course. Just go learn about that just to get like a very introductory foundation to the principles of ABA. So before you make your decision on whether ABA is for you and your child or not, I want you to learn about it and then see for yourself, right? So that is a great message, and I'm so excited to see what the future holds. And if you go to Japan, take me with you, okay?
I will.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And you guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And if you are Japanese and want to speak with Shino, she's like the nicest. I tell her, she's like an aunt to me. She's not quite old enough to be my mom, but I will pass on your message to Shino because, like you said, gosh, only 30 BCBAs on all of Japan, and then maybe a dozen here in the United States that we know of. There's probably more, right? But
Yes.
my goal to Shino, I don't know if I told you before, well, if you look at all the organizations for BCBAs, there is Black ABA, right? For our Black BCBAs, there's LABA, so Latinx ABA, and then there's ABAI, international, and there's the APBA. But I've been looking for like the Asian ABA. It does not exist. And then for me, I'm like, where's the Hmong Abba? And I think that I have to put my resources together and maybe start something. I don't know. But if there isn't a Japanese Abba, I don't know. I encourage you to maybe consider pulling something together because I think that even though we as a collective whole, as BCBAs, can do a lot of good, and we do every day. Every day we are doing amazing things, but together, just imagine what we can really accomplish, right? But there are some, as you and I talked about, some cultural barriers that my amazing, talented, doctorate level white, BCBA friend, she might not understand why this Hmong family cannot, follow the treatment plan or will not show up to meet, right? And the same for you with your Japanese, the understanding of Japanese culture. So like the cultural nuances, the cultural responsiveness that goes into this. This is why we need, BCBAs of all ethnicities, all races, because, as we know, autism is just the prevalence of it and the numbers are just increasing, and almost like every time I have a conversation with someone, someone mentions, hey, I know someone with autism, and I'm about to like lose my 30. I was shooting for 30 minutes and we're here at 40. But I was going to share with you the other day, I was having a conversation in the hallway with a parent, and we were trying to go into the room to have a conversation, have a meeting. And then, oh gosh, what was it? Like, it's open enrollment. And the guy in there, you know me, I was like, hey, I got to come in. I signed up for this room. So he was wrapping up his meeting, and he overheard us talking, I mean, no PHI or anything, but, we're just talking about toileting or something. And he comes out and he's like, hey, I overheard you talking about, your the toileting. Well, I have a child on the spectrum, and this is what we did. So like every time you turn a corner almost and you have a conversation, you almost always meet someone who is also impacted by autism. So we just need more BCBAs. I mean, in general, but I think it's amazing, and I'm so happy and lucky that I found you, and that we get to share, this venture together here at our current workplace. And thank you so much for agreeing to be on my show today. I'm super excited to push this out, and into my Hmong community and into the greater Asian community. So thank you so much. In the Hmong language, thank you is ochao. So ochao, thank you.
Thank you. Arigato.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you, Tia. Bye bye.
Yeah.